When I was 24 years old, my life looked perfect from the outside. I had a stable job in a big company. I worked from 9 to 5 every day. My salary was good enough. My parents were proud of me. My friends said, "You are lucky. You have everything." But inside I felt empty. Every morning I woke up at 7 a.m. I took the same bus. I sat at the same desk. I looked at the same computer screen. I ate lunch at the same small restaurant near my office. Every day was the same. At first I thought this feeling was normal. Maybe this is what adult life is, I told myself. But slowly that feeling became stronger. I always had a dream. I wanted to become a photographer. Since I was a child, I loved taking pictures. I loved capturing small moments, a smiling child, an old man reading a newspaper, sunlight on the street after rain. Photography made me feel alive. But my parents wanted something different for me. They wanted security. They wanted a safe future. So I studied business at university. I found a corporate job. I became responsible. Years passed. One evening after work, I stayed in the office alone. I looked around. Everyone had already gone home. The lights were cold and white. The room was silent. I opened my desk drawer and saw my old camera. I used to bring it with me every day, but I stopped using it months ago. I picked it up. It was covered in dust. In that moment, something inside me broke. I asked myself a simple question. Is this the life I want for the next 40 years? The question scared me. That night, I couldn't sleep. For the first time, I realized I was standing at a crossroads. I had two choices: stay safe or follow my dream. The fear of losing everything. The next weeks were very difficult. I tried to ignore my feelings. I told myself, don't be stupid, you have a good job, many people are unemployed. Be grateful. But every day at work felt heavier. One day my manager called me into his office. He smiled and said, "We are planning to promote you next year." This was supposed to be good news. Everyone would celebrate. But instead of feeling happy, I felt trapped. Promotion meant more responsibility, more hours, less freedom. That evening, I met my best friend, Daniel. We sat in a small cafe. I told him everything. He listened carefully and asked, "What are you really afraid of?" I thought for a moment. "I'm afraid of failing," I said. "I'm afraid of disappointing my parents. I'm afraid of losing money. I'm afraid of being alone." Daniel nodded. Then he said something I will never forget. "You are already losing something. You are losing yourself." His words hit me deeply. That night I went home and looked at my photos from the past. I saw faces, places, colors, emotions. I remembered how happy I felt when I took those pictures. Then I opened my laptop and searched for photography courses in another city. There was one program that lasted 1 year. It was expensive, it was risky, it was far from my family. But it was real. For days I looked at the application form. I started it, I closed it, I started it again, I closed it again. My heart said yes, my fear said no. Finally, one Sunday evening, I sat alone in my room. I imagined 2 futures. In the first future, I stayed at my job. 10 years later, I had more money, maybe a bigger apartment, but I looked tired. My eyes were empty. In the second future, I followed photography. Maybe I failed. Maybe I had little money, but my eyes were bright. I understood something very important. Security without happiness is another kind of prison. With shaking hands, I completed the application form, and I pressed send. That was the choice that changed my life. The hard road and the beautiful result. When I told my parents, they were shocked. My mother cried. My father said, "You are making a big mistake." For a moment, I almost changed my mind, but this time I didn't. I respected their opinion, but I listened to my heart. I quit my job 2 months later. The first weeks in the new city were very hard. I lived in a small apartment. I didn't know anyone. I had less money. Sometimes I felt scared and lonely. Some days I asked myself, what have I done? But every morning I picked up my camera. I learned about light, shadow composition. I walked for hours in the streets. I talked to strangers. I made mistakes. I took bad photos. I felt frustrated. But I was alive. Slowly my skills improved. One day my teacher chose one of my photos for a small exhibition. It was a simple photo. An old woman sitting near a window, smiling softly while holding a cup of tea. But people stopped and looked at it. Some people even had tears in their eyes. For the first time I felt proud. Not because of money, not because of a title, but because I created something meaningful. After finishing the program, I started working as a freelance photographer. The beginning was not easy. Some months were good, some months were difficult, but something inside me had changed forever. I was no longer afraid of uncertainty, because I had learned that the biggest risk is not failing. The biggest risk is never trying. Years later, I visited my old office building. Nothing had changed. Same bus stop, same desk, same white lights. But I had changed. I smiled, not because life was perfect, but because I had chosen courage over comfort. And that choice gave me something more valuable than money. It gave me freedom. It gave me purpose. It gave me myself. Life is full of difficult choices. Sometimes the safe road looks easier. Sometimes the risky road looks frightening. But if you listen carefully, your heart already knows the answer. The choice that changes your life is not always the easiest one. It is the one that makes you feel alive. And one brave decision can open a door you never imagined.